Okay, so it is topwater time. Water's warming up. Bait are starting to move up near the top. Topwater time of year. You need to be throwing the right line so that you can have a lot of fun and not say, oh, I had one come off. I had a big one, had one come off, had one jump off. I missed him. He missed it. Man, I've heard the excuse a million times. If you choose the right line, you will be blown away with the landing ratio that you're going to have on your topwater baits. So let's get started. I'm going to knock over everything here. Braid is your friend. We'll get to that here in just a second. I'm going to go ahead and start with probably one of the most popular, one of my favorite, is the big walking bait. This is a Vixen right here, but I mean, I've caught a gazillion fish on a Zero Spook. Works very similar, but this is the big old walking bait, and the smaller versions are one and the same. I'm going to throw that on 30-pound Sunline braid. This X Plasma right here is the deal. The one of the things I like about the X Plasma is that it does not absorb water. Any braid is the deal, but you want to have a really smooth braid with topwater. It's going to have better casting distance. I don't like the ones with the big, with the injected. They're real kind of sticky. You know, they're like slick or whatever they want to call them. I do not like those. Those are not my friend. Those are not what I want because they, in my opinion, they reduce your casting distance, but you want a smooth one with a very smooth coating on it. The X Plasma definitely checks the box for all of that. And I like 30-pound. I've messed around with 50, 30. You get a little better casting distance with 30 on this. And with the treble hooks, you really don't want really heavy line on there. You're just gonna rip out of their mouth. It's just not the best scenario. Like I said, played around with it, and you're gonna tie that braid directly to the front of that spook or Vixen or whatever you're gonna be throwing, that walking bait. You tie directly to the front of that Palomar knot. You got to tie a big old loop around Palomar knot on that thing, and that is the deal. Make long casts. You will be blown away with. You can make one twitch of that and one will smoke it, 100 feet from the boat, man, and it's an instant hookup. Let's go to the next one on my list. Here she is right here. The Spro Frog. Can you believe that thing? It's 15 years that Spro Frog has been out, the bronze eye frog, and it is still my favorite, my buddy, my pal, regular pal here. But as you can see, more braid. This time we're going to go to the 50-pound Sunline X Plasma. I messed around with the 60, I messed around with the 30, and I messed around with the 50. And the 50 is to me is the optimal size because you can absolutely rack them as hard as you want to rack them. I've got the Cash and Frog rod right here. It's a 7-foot heavy action, and I mean you can walk the frog real good. Popping frog, whichever one. And if you use, Ish's frog or whatever, that matter. It's a frog. You need braid, 50-pound braid. At least some manufacturers you need 60 because 50 is not as strong as the Sunline X Plasma 50. I can tell you that X Plasma 50. You can absolutely rack them as hard as you want to rack them. And I've never broken this line on a fish right here. Never broken. I've caught a lot on that. So you want to tie a Palomar right to the front of that bad boy, and when one bites it, rearrange his face for him, and it is a whole lot of fun to get those big old Gamakatsus in there. So there's that. Moving on to the next topwater category, buzz chickens. Buzz bait, buzz chicken, egg beater, whatever you want to call that bad boy right there. The buzz baits, we're going to go with the braid again. I've gone back and forth, and it kind of depends on the size of your buzz bait. A bigger, especially like a double buzz bait, a bigger buzz bait, 1/2 ounce, you're going to want to go to 50-pound braid. But if you're going to go 3/8 or 1/4 ounce, you're probably going to want to drop down to 30-pound braid. So that's kind of the way that it kind of breaks down for me with the buzz bait. And the one difference is you want to make sure you have a high speed reel, as absolutely fast of a reel as you own. That's what you want to have your buzz bait on, at least a 7-to-1. Same thing with the frog, at least a 7-to-1. 8-to-1 is fine, works great. That's what I have on the Tatula here on this frog. But I've got a 7-to-1 on the Buzzbait. That's my choice right there. So we're gonna move from the Buzzbait over to a similar bait, but definitely a different bait. Got the Whopper plopper. This is the 110 right here. The 110 is my friend. It's a good buddy of mine. Here, the 110, the Whopper plopper 110. This is a new one out of the pack. I just threw some Gamigatsus on there, and she's ready to rock. But that is going to be on 50-pound, the 50-pound Sunline X Plasma again. That is my choice for that 50-pound. It does a great job of giving you that casting distance and then that strength that you need. That is a big deal. Of course, high-speed reel, again, with that plopper, any kind of plopper, you want that high-speed reel. If you're going to go up to the 130, that bigger plopper, you're probably going to go whoop, up to the 60-pound, and it doesn't have to do with the strength of the line. My buddy Ish turned me onto this. He's sponsored by River Sea. He knows all the little plopper tricks. He's also buddies with James Watson. I'm friends with James Watson too, but he didn't tell me all the secrets. See, he tells Ish all the secrets, and then Ish tells me. So sorry, James, if you're watching, that's what happens, bro. That's just the way it is. I know you tell me if I ask you. I know you would. But yeah, the 60-pound, you want to go up in line size past 50. The bigger line size keeps that plopper up. So what happens, that plopper's heavy, that 130, you make a really long cast, that line starts to sag unless it's a bigger diameter braid. That bigger diameter braid will stay up on the surface, and you get better action at the end of your cast with that big plopper. It's a big deal. Now you got the 90 plopper, those smaller ones, and that one is more of a spinning rod application. I mean, you could throw it on a bait caster, but again, braid, hands down, braid's the ticket. And we're going to kind of change gears a little bit to a wake bait. Whatever kind, this is a little handmade wake bait. Don't ask what kind it is, because I'm not telling. Okay, I'm not telling. But this is a little wake bait. All the wake baits are similar in this, that you can throw them on a bait caster. Most of them now. I think Rappler's got a newer one that's pretty good. There's a number of handmade ones out there. Phil Hunt, I believe, makes a good one. There's a number of good ones out there, and I'm going to throw that 30-pound braid again on that. For some reason, that braid, it floats, helps keep the line up above the water, and doesn't get you sag. And then when those fish bite it, it's instant hookup, instantly. So we're going to go to the exception. We got the popper here. I have thrown the popper on braid, and I just didn't like it. I did not like it. So if I'm going to throw a popper, I'm going to go old school on it. I'm going to go mono filament. If you're going to throw a mono, this right here, if you've never seen it, boys and girls, it is a fantastic monofilament line. It's a shooter to fire. It's got my buddy Marizo Shimizu's name on it, and that makes me smile and laugh on the inside just seeing his name, because he's such a funny guy. And I miss him. I do. I miss him. I wish he was still on tour, but he's doing his thing over in Japan with his family. Beautiful daughter and everything. So the Defier is what I put that on, and with the popper, the smaller ones are gonna just spit, right? So the smaller ones are gonna spit. So I'm gonna just go ahead and tie a San Diego jam knot right to the front of that. But the bigger poppers, I'm gonna make them walk. Bigger chug bug, same deal. Bigger poppers, same deal. I'm gonna make them walk. Those ones, I'm not gonna have a split ring on there. I don't like that. Get it off of there. I'm gonna have that bigger line, probably 20 or even 22 in that Defier. That Defier is pretty small diameter for the pound test. I'm gonna go ahead and tie a loop knot on there. If you've not seen that, I do a loop knot demonstration on my knots playlist. If you look at that, and that is how you want that bait to walks real well like that. And you could do braid to a mono leader. I've done that with prop baits. Prop baits are another one of those funky categories to where braid is a huge deal because you're fishing the prop bait a lot around grass, but that braid's gonna get hung up like a mofo around that front blade. So I do not advise it, but I have learned of a bait hack that I have not had time to try out yet. So I might let you know about my bait hack that I found out about with the prop bait at some point in time, but I'm not going to do it right here. I don't want to give all the goods away at one time, but I will tell you on a prop bait, that is what I currently would do if I was going to fish a tournament. I would have probably 30 to 50 pound braid, depending on how big the prop bait is. You know, some prop baits are little, some prop baits are longer. You know, if it's one of the bigger ones like a devil's horse, I'll throw that on 50, and then I'll put I put this Defier on there, 22 pound. I'll probably put like a 1 to 2 foot leader in front of it, and that line on the front keeps the line going forward because it's got a little rigidity to it. Keeps it going forward, doesn't allow it to get hung up in the blades. A lot better experience on the prop bait. So those are my line choices for throwing topwater. As you can see, heavily on the braid, heavily on that X plasma right there. And if you have not tried braid on topwaters, bro, you are missing the boat. You are just missing the boat. And if you're wondering about the toads, like a horny toad or something like that, same as a frog, man. Same as the frog. 50 pound is the deal. You get that casting distance, casting accuracy, and you got all the strength that you need. So that's what I would go with on a toad, horny toad, ribbit, anything like that. That's what I would go with there. But those are my line choices. Heavily on the braid. Get you some braid, tie it on, tie a good knot. Enjoy those massive blow-ups on topwater, and be sure to hit me down below. Let me know what else you want to see me do, and I'll be sure to cover that as well. Thanks.